fallout, smoke, women crying for their sons because their sons are not, Romans killing riotous groups that are rising up. Free Judea, free our people, autonomy for Israel. You had Herod, an Ephraimite, and his dynasty. Herod's ruling, killing any potential threat, any potential Messiah. Then you had the Pharisees and the Sadducees that we learned from Josephus are not Jews by birth. No.
Brothers and sisters, they are there. We are not lost. We are scattered. We are original Hebrew.
Let's go! All praises be to the Most High God. Yeah, I say it.
I was opportune to meet my grandparents, whom from childhood had always made us to understand that we are one of the lost tribes of Israel. Okay. So from my grandmother.
What's up, Zion Dynasty family? So y'all, I'm gonna have to deal with this stuff. I'm gonna have to jump right into it. Greetings to everybody that's been supporting this channel. I'm gonna straight up and go ahead and tell y'all. When I started this platform, when we started Zion Dynasty, the channel was all about truth, all about just giving y'all the raw truth. The video that went viral was the one that I showed you guys with the old Vornay images of the white folks being in chains, judgment from the Most High coming, and our people being the saints, crowned in the glorious robes and all that good stuff. So everything I've done on this channel has been unapologetic truth. Not getting paid by some ish people, because some of y'all been commenting some crazy stuff, and I'm finna deal with it. Y'all don't know how much hate I done got over trying to resurrect Joseph out of the pit. I've encountered a spirit real quick trying to do this work, and I'm gonna have to deal with it. I have respect for Pastor Kelly and Benayah Israel, these brothers, and y'all know it. Y'all watch the channel. Y'all have heard me say, man, shout out to these elders that have laid the groundwork, that have paved the way for young brothers like me. You do it the nice way, the political way. You smile, you be cordial, you give them respect, you give them honor, because I have, in fact, y'all, learned a lot from these elders. And it hurts your heart because these are the men that you looked up to. Then you see them going out of their way. Benayah Israel got 60,000 plus subscribers. Pastor Kelly got 25,000 plus subscribers. Will gang up to come against a low brother, a low channel. I only been doing this for like 3 months when the surge happened, right? 3 months ago, I had like 300 subscribers. Now it's 16,000. And they'll come against your tail. And I'm telling you, all because they coming against something that they know not. And y'all, we gonna have to deal with it. This might be a long one, so I'm gonna go ahead and I said, let me skip the pleasantries. Let me just get into this, because I'm gonna go through every scripture exhaustively and prove this David Ephraimite, Yoruba Ephraimite. I never thought I would have to prove the Yoruba's oral tradition. That's why I tell y'all, study to show yourself approved. This channel is for y'all to think. This channel is for you to do your research. A lot of our people, sad to say, and I've gotten so many emails from people supporting. Shout out to every one of y'all. Shout out to all the donations. Y'all don't know how much that means to me when I'm getting flooded with all this other chaos. Every donation, every comment that y'all give is just so encouragement, especially in this season with this hell I've been going through with this Joseph thing, trying to defend that archer, that fruitful vine whose branches run over the wall. I have encountered a spirit. So I ain't gonna go off into, I'm just gonna deal with this. So this brother, Benayah Israel, tried to say that the Yoruba oral tradition, I had to get this right now, I gotta get it right. This brother said the Yoruba oral tradition is wrong. He said, I got it off Nariland, and that's the only website. Yes, that's the one I had on the screen record, but please don't think that's the only source. Your boy comes with, if y'all been following this channel at all, every intro. But the Danyayas, the Abarbanels, also never cease to trace their origin to King David. Y'all watch this. Those related to the David family, we find after the expulsion of the Jews from Spain, we find them in Morocco. Intro. I know some of y'all, when you're listening to the lessons, you're not looking at the screen because you're doing, some of my brothers, you're working out, so you're listening to the lessons and that kind of thing, which I understand. But if y'all didn't seen the screens, every video is the Library of Congress, is the White House. If you look at the Library of Congress, family, in the Houston Daily Post, I'm gonna try to let you guys see this.
it talks about a Negro who could read and write Hebrew. Now it says he is deaf and dumb and comes from an African town in Hartford, Connecticut, September 19. A young African Negro has been in this city for the last few days who claims to be a Hebrew. He is deaf and dumb.
It's the White House memorandum. It's Harvard. It's Oxford. It's Cambridge. It's the slave maps. Every video. And these brothers actually tried to play me for weak. And I tried to respect these elders. Y'all know, God knows, but the scripture says that the fathers do not provoke your children to anger. Them brothers could have went to me behind the scenes and said, yo, young teacher, young brother. Just don't even have to call me teacher. Just say young brother. It's young son, right? Young son, we see what you're saying. Let's talk a little bit more about this. Where are you getting this from and that kind of thing? Where are you getting David being an Ephraimite? There's so much information. Where are you getting Yoruba being a Benayah Ephraim? Instead, these Negroes, and I'm gonna go, y'all, this might be rough. I might end up saying some words because I might get passionate. I'm gonna go ahead and warn y'all. These Negroes will do a community post and say the Ephraimite deception. Do y'all know what y'all coming against? I don't think we know how deep that Ephraimite Judah stuff is. Because our people think that the Judah side is the hero of the story. And you know, victory is always in the pen of the hand of the victor, right? The Judean scribes penned a lot of the text today. But what precedes the Judean scribes is the Torah, the Tanakh, the books of Moshe HaNavi. And before I get off into this, so these brothers call themselves saying what I'm saying about Ephraim, a darn deception, that Nary land is the only source I got to prove the oral tradition of the Yoruba coming from the Benayah Ephraim people of Morocco, which I didn't show y'all the Tel Aviv Jerusalem Library.
And they have a copy in Jerusalem Library, y'all. They try to hide a lot of this history. But, so now this is Jerusalem Library literature that says, let me make sure what time it is, okay? It says, the Jews of Wifran, now we just read about Wifran from the Jewish Virtual Library. The Jews of Wifran have conserved up to the present another old tradition in support of the belief that their ancestors had came at the time of the deportation of the 10 tribes. This is where Derek Lang comes in. Derek Lang said around 722, the fall of the Assyrian Empire, a lot of these Ephraimites, Northern Kingdom, they made their way into Morocco. They made their way deeper into Africa, right? Now, after many generations, they founded a kingdom of their own and subdued all the native peoples of that region. So that's what I told y'all. Our people dominated Africa. The indigenous Khemitic people were displaced over time by the subsequent migrations of Israelites into the continent. Our people just dominated when we got there. Our people were known for that, even going back to Joseph's time period, having wisdom to dominate, agricultural wisdom, just everything needed to become a mighty people. Their first monarch was called Abraham Ha'afrati, 8673, of the tribe of Ephraim, from whom are descended all the succeeding kings. They had a dynasty of kings family who bore the name Ephraim, right? So now over here it says, according to the tradition, Ephraim was populated at the time of the deportation of the 10 tribes, the so-called lost tribes, by the Assyrians around 715 BC. These are the fabled lost 10 tribes, which included the royal house of Ephraim. You might see the house of Israel called Ephraim, Samaria, Jacob from time to time. All of that is Northern Kingdom. The 10 dominant tribes of Israel were named by Ephraim. So that's not just including the tribe of Ephraim, but you had the tribe of Gad that also migrated, the Igbo people that migrated with Yoruba or Oduduwa when they first migrated. You had a lot of those 10 tribes, which is why all of them are found in Africa today, that migrated with the royal house of Yoruba into Africa.
I didn't show y'all the Jewish Virtual Library.
Now, if you look at the Jewish Virtual Library, now y'all, I know a lot of y'all have probably seen this. I'm just doing this for people that might not be aware of this history. The Jewish Virtual Library talks about this. It says Ephraim is the principal capital of Central Sud region, north central Morocco, which is situated in the Middle Atlas Mountains. So in North Africa and that Maghrebian region at the top of the continent, you have this Ephraim region. It is Morocco's winter summer premier resort area. It's a nice area up on the northern coast of the continent. And according to Judeo-African tradition, Ephraim is regarded as the first site of Jewish settlement in Morocco. So this is the Jewish Virtual Library talking about this Ephraim Jewish settlement in Africa. Morocco is North Africa, y'all. So now we just read about the Yoruba saying that they came from Morocco. The Moors ruled in Morocco and Spain during the Dark Ages, but they were forced deeper into Africa when the European North banished them. So we see that this Jewish settlement was the first in Morocco. Many legends have been created about this ancient community of Ephraim, whose first members are said to have arrived from Eretz, Israel, before the destruction of the first temple. So family, we talked about those that migrated in 1492. We talked about those that came to Africa in 70 AD when General Vespasian and his son Titus destroyed Jerusalem.
I just showed y'all Cambridge, and we're gonna go through each and every one of them in detail just for y'all, because some of y'all might just be listening. I'm gonna put it up on the screen. The Cambridge source, Ulysses Santa Maria, the Yoruba people themselves, through at least 3 or 4 websites. Y'all, if you Google Yoruba Benayah Ephraim, y'all, it's like 50 different articles that say the exact oral tradition, spotless. Every word the same. Benayah Ephraim, children of Ephraim, come from Morocco, speak Moroccan Arabic, were banished in 1492. And these Negroes gonna sacrifice the oral tradition of the ancestors that gave your black behind life because you don't want to be associated with Northern Kingdom. That's what it come down to, y'all. I saw Joseph was that stone that the builders rejected, as prophesied in Genesis 49, that from Joseph would come the shepherd rock, the rock that the archers hated. Watch this now, the power of the prophetic word. The archers that hated Joseph, that same shepherd rock will become the chief cornerstone. Now we know that as a messianic prophecy, but you don't know that that's in Genesis 49. Y'all, so many scriptures I'm finna go through in every detail. I gotta prove the Messiah's prophecies, connect that with Ephraim through connecting that with David. And let me go ahead and tell y'all, a lot of y'all don't read. I'm gonna go and tell you, 90% of y'all that even watch the channels are hype beast. You don't have the fear of the Most High Yah on them, and you don't have the spirit of the Most High Yah. You take whatever is trending and you run with it. You see a lesson like mine, you see a title like We're Ephraimites, and you jump to the comment section and say no. What you don't know is you're discouraging the work of the Most High Yah that you're gonna account for. You ain't even listened to the lesson, but you just got in your flesh and you went down there without listening to the precepts and voiced your, God forbid, don't even matter opinion. And that's the problem I got with our people. We don't read, we don't study line upon line, precept upon precept. We don't take notes. Most of us don't come from a scholarship mindset, right? And that's all right. But have enough humility to learn, to be teachable. Most of our people come into this truth with preconceived notions, not based on facts, but based on fiction. Now then we're gonna have to deal with it. Because a lot of y'all come in the truth, oh, we Judah, you know, the American black. And a lot of these so-called moderates then come against the camps for saying that the African American is Judah. You'll come against the camps for doing all kinds of other stuff. Well, you know, camps, they do this and that. But you got you being Judah as an African American from the camps. Now, let me just show you something that's wrong with that 12 tribes chart. The Limba tribes say that they come from the Levites. On that 12 tribes chart, Levi is the Haitians. Now, were there Limba people that went to Haiti? I'm not bashing it utterly, but I'm showing you the flaw in it. Now, we see that the Igbo saying that they come from Gad. That ain't on the 12 tribes chart. They got Native Americans. I know the Moroccan history, the Moors that came over. Y'all seen the videos, but I'm just showing you that that thing is not perfect, that 12 tribes chart. If anything, it causes error because it doesn't have Africa as the heartbeat. Africa is the heartbeat, right? And we know Ephraim has the Puerto Ricans. There were a lot of Yoruba that went to the Puerto Rican area, that went to Cuba, that went to a lot of these Latin-speaking countries, that went to Brazil. Brazil had the majority of the Brazil had the majority of the transatlantic slaves. They actually were transported to Brazil. Brazil had the leading amount of slaves during the time of the transatlantic. So we can connect it, but you see how this could cause error. Because now, you got Negroes saying every African American is Judah. Now, our people ain't gonna define Judah. We gonna just dump it as the tribe of Judah. this is where terminology comes in, and I hope y'all follow this. I hope to God you do. The tribe of Judah, the house of Judah, and the kingdom of Judah are three different things. I repeat, the tribe of Judah, the house of Judah, and the kingdom of Judah are three different things. The counterpart is Israel. There is the tribe of Ephraim, there's the house of Ephraim or the house of Israel, and there's the northern kingdom of Israel. You might see the northern kingdom called Ephraim. You might see it called Samaria, which was the capital of Ephraim. You might just see it called Israel. You might see northern kingdom just called Jacob, because northern kingdom, being led by Joseph's prodigy, received the birthright in the name of Jacob. Jacob prophesied this. Y'all don't read. In Genesis 48 and 49, when he was pronouncing the blessings on Ephraim and Manasseh, the two sons of Joseph, in Genesis 48. He says, in your seed, your sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, they're going to be like my sons, Reuben and Simeon, right? They're going to be like my first two sons. So he was giving the prerogative to Ephraim and Manasseh, Ephraim being the firstborn, and Manasseh being right after him, right? So Jacob was saying that the name of my forefathers, the name of my progenitors, is going to be passed on to the head, the crown of he that was separated from his brethren. We don't know the power of prophecy, y'all. I'm telling y'all, we think the Most High took the birthright, balled that thing up, and threw it in the trash can, because most of y'all Negroes cannot substantiate theologically what happened to Joseph. What happened to the son that Jacob said, my son is utterly dead? Joseph is destroyed. He is destroyed. The tattered coat of many colors, which is a messianic prophecy of YESHUA. Oh yeah, YESHUA named after Joshua, the son of Nun, the Ephraimite. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into that yet, but y'all stay with me. So our people will ball up the birthright, say none of that matters. Judah got everything, because you don't read and study to show yourself approved. And we're going to go through every one of those messianic prophecies, and then after that, I'm going to connect that with the Yoruba, because Brother Benayah had the audacity to say that the Yoruba, saying that they are Israelites that come from Spain, that came from Morocco, that are children of Ephraim, that ain't corroborated by no sources. Boy, I tell you. Let me use one source for an example. From Babylon to Timbuktu, by Dr. Rudolph R. Windsor, a black scholar. You may have heard of him.
In your book, Babylon to Timbuktu, that's one of the favorite books. I want you to go into, because you go into a lot of history regarding Israel along the west coast of Africa. Talk to us about that. Let me ask you this, because there's two trains of thought that I've heard people say. Some people have made the claim that some Israelites still are on the west coast. Some Israelites say they're all gone out of there. So what do you think the validity is? You think that there's still some there?
And there in Nigeria, there are the Igbos, the Igbos in Hebrew, and you know, evidently you know French then, right?
Yeah, I understand what that was.
In fact, the word Ebo, I don't know if you heard this, but Ebo, that's the way you say Hebrew. The way you say it in French.
Oh, okay.
You say Ebo. It means Hebrew.
Okay.
You see? So a lot of Israelites in southern Nigeria and in the country next door used to be called Dahomey.
Right, I've read about Dahomey.
Right. Yeah, but now called Benin. In fact, that word Benin is a corruption or contraction from the Hebrew word Benayah, Ephraim, which means the children of Ephraim.
Now that's in your book.
Yes.
I came across it. I was like, wow.
Yeah, you remember that.
That's right.
That's good, yeah.
Dr. Windsor is where 99.9% of Negroes get over 1 million Israelites fled Judea in 70 CE when the Romans under General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state. Over 1 million, according to Josephus, he gets the statistics from Josephus. But according to Dr. Windsor, over 1 million went into Africa. Every Israelite knows that's historical statistic. They got it from Dr. Windsor. In the same book of Dr. Rudolph R. Windsor from Babylon and Timbuktu, he talks about the Yoruba, but I'm gonna put it on the screen for y'all. The Yoruba Benayah Ephraim coming from Morocco, settling in Yoruba land. And we go through some more of this stuff. Now, I already just showed y'all Harvard's Dr. Tudor Parfit. And if y'all don't know Dr. Tudor Parfit, he showed up on, I think, Brother Garfield's podcast, proving that the Sephardic Israelites, that a lot of Negroes are descended from them. Dr. Tudor Parfit, Harvard level scholar, and this is all I bring on this channel, y'all. So when people say I don't have it, he talks about the Yoruba's Israelite origin. Now, he doesn't go into detail on the Benayah Ephraim, but guess who else does? His protege, Dr. Edith Bruder. She goes into extensive detail on the Benayah Ephraim. This is in her book, The Black Jews of Africa, an Oxford publication. So we got Oxford saying it. In corroboration with Harvard scholars like Tudor Parfit, Dr. Rudolph R. Windsor says it verified fact by fact, the same oral tradition. I'm gonna put on the screen, the Cambridge scholar, Ulysses Santa Maria, says the exact oral tradition of the Yoruba Benayah Ephraim. That's 3 witnesses. Now we're gonna go to the Jewish Diaspora Encyclopedia that also gives you the same history. So now Negroes, at some point, everybody ain't lying. Everything ain't a conspiracy. What do white people gain from telling black people you are the children of Israel? Y'all, we got Harvard saying it. We got Oxford saying it. We got a black scholar, in case y'all, I try to use credibility, so I go to Harvard and go to European and Jewish people to show y'all that it's unbiased for our people that may be watching that are Gentiles. Dr. Rudolph R. Windsor, every black person swears by his scholarship. PhD in Hebrew and Aramaic studies, goes through the diaspora, the Songhai Mali Empire, all of the African history, and links it to ancient Israelite kingdoms beautifully. Talks about the Yoruba Benayah Ephraim of the tribe of Joseph. Ulysses Santa Maria, Cambridge source. So when I put up that whole Nauri land site, y'all, I might do a screen recording this same video to just Google. I'm just gonna Google because I know y'all ain't gonna do it. Y'all don't study, and I'm not talking to everybody. I know it's some beautiful family members that y'all are saying after much prayer and deliberation, and some of y'all saying fasting, researching, and God knows the Most High, y'all, my heart goes out to each and every one of y'all because you take this work seriously. At the time of me shooting this, it's like 12 o'clock in the morning because I can't even sleep thinking about this stuff. I'm gonna be tossing and turning, dealing with Ephraimite, the Strong's Concordance, H673, 1 Samuel 1:1, 1 Kings 11:26, Genesis 48, Genesis 49, the book of Obadiah, 1 Samuel 17, verse 12. I'm gonna be doing it all night, so I said, let me just go ahead and deal with this because I don't come up here to play with y'all. I've had people in the comments, y'all can only imagine the hurtful things people say, 90% of which I know they ain't listened to the lesson, and I know that they just, I don't know, they didn't listen to the lesson, they ain't studying this stuff, they're not looking at the points. The stuff they'll get on here and say, when you call yourself a teacher, you have a responsibility. Oh, he's a false prophet. Oh, he's paid by the Ish people to say that black people are Israelites. What? It doesn't even make, y'all, I'm in Montgomery, Alabama, bruh. Ain't nobody paying me. I got this out the mud to do this work for my people. White folks do not benefit from having to admit that, okay, we know there's Israelites in Africa, we need to get ahead of this thing. They not your friend, and they don't benefit from that. And there may be some Ish people that are sincere enough to say, okay, we know that y'all are Israelites. I'm not gonna discredit them though. I'm not gonna put them in the mud and say, look at y'all. If they gonna work to rebuild Zion, I'm not gonna come against that. But don't think that their race and them not having, they have to sacrifice that. Don't think that they benefit from doing that, putting their neck on the chopping block of truth to say, you, old black man, are the chosen of the Most High Yah. They don't benefit from that, sweetie. And I'm gonna put some websites on here to go through the Yoruba Benayah Ephraim. I got the Jewish Federation. I mean, it's so many different darn sources. It's like not Kulanu, but they talk about it, but there's so many Jewish diaspora outreach, Jews for Jesus, a bunch of different places that talk about the Benayah Ephraim going back to the Yoruba people. Now, A lot of y'all are gonna say stuff like, oh, well, that's the Ish people. You know, the white folks, they want you to say you the lost tribes. They want to give you Dan and Joseph and Ephraim. Because our people don't know the Bible. We don't know that the birthright meant something to God. The Ish people know the prophecies about Joseph, about his seed, about the noble houses of Israel. Both the house of Israel and the house of Judah will have to go through Joseph. We'll have to go through Ephraim. When you look at David being an Ephraimite, a lot of y'all been bashing that because you don't read. 1 Samuel chapter 17 verse 12. I'm going to say it again. 1 Samuel, and I'm going to do a screen record as well. 1 Samuel chapter 17 verse 12. JP, it says Ephrathite. It says, now David was the son of the Ephrathite, Jesse, that lived in Bethlehem in Judah. So when y'all hit me with that Hebrews, don't miss, you missing me with that Hebrews 7 verse 14, that it's evident that our Lord sprang out of Judah. Yes, if I came out of Texas, that don't mean I come out of Dallas. Use some common sense. And I'm speaking like that because some of y'all are so proud that you won't listen. You'll just go down there commenting, spreading confusion, bashing and saying all manner of evil against me and my family, and you ain't even studied, right? So now when you see that the Bible says that the Messiah would come out of Judah, that don't mean, like I said, there's the tribe of Judah, the house of Judah and the accompanying tribes, and the kingdom of Judah. During the time of Judea, which was the remnants of the southern kingdom, you had multiple tribes living in the land of Israel. The Bible tells you in Matthew chapter 4 verses 14 through 15 that Galilee of the Gentiles belonged to Zebulun and Naphtali. We know the Samaritan woman says, are you greater than our father Jacob, whose name got changed to Israel, whose descendants are Israelites? So the Samaritan woman that Christ pinpointed was an Israelite. Were there some planted Samaritans in that region? There probably were, because we know the Assyrians did that during their empire. But we know Christ was sent for the lost sheep, and he would have known where his true people were, and that's why he went to the woman at Joseph's well in John chapter 4. The well that Jacob gave to Joseph. She says, well, our Messiah is going to tell us these things. He said, I that speak to you am he, Messiah ben Yosef. And y'all check out that video. Our people don't study these precepts. Back to the David being an Ephraimite. I know I'm kind of trying to deal with all this stuff, and I'm going to kind of take my time. I'm just going to deal with this stuff as it comes to mind. And then I'm going to do a screen record, y'all, and go into more detail and show y'all the precepts, because I know a lot of y'all are not going to read these scriptures unless I put it up on the screen for you. So in 1 Samuel chapter 17 verse 12, it says, now David, the son of Jesse, the Ephrathite of Bethlehem, within Judea, or within Judah, right? Now we got to break down each component. David, the son of Jesse, the Ephrathite. A lot of y'all try to say, well, Ephrathite means just somebody that lives in Bethlehem. So now let's take that definition. We learned this in English class. You can substitute that noun with what it's synonymous with, and you can plug that into the sentence. So now David was a son of Jesse who was from Bethlehem in Judah. It's redundant, isn't it? Because you substituted Ephrathite for a person that lives in Bethlehem. So basically the scriptures were redundant. Why would it say that Jesse was from Bethlehem by using the term Ephrathite, from Bethlehem again in Judah? That's not what that word was saying. If you Google Ephrathite in the Strong's Concordance, you will see an inhabitant of Bethlehem, also a descendant of Ephraim. These are 2 points, but they're the same because it tells you also. There were Ephrathites that lived within Bethlehem, which was within the overall borders of Judah. We see in Joshua chapter 15 that every city that belonged to Judah is listed in great detail. And Bethlehem is omitted. Why? In Genesis 35, verse 19, we see that Rachel died giving birth to Benjamin. She named him Benoni, the son of my sorrow, because she had hard labor, and she died on the way to Bethlehem. Her bones were buried there. Rachel's bones were buried there. Now, we know, research it, JSTOR, so many articles that go into how those Ephraimites settled Bethlehem Ephratah. Because most scholars believe that when Moses is writing about Rachel was buried in Bethlehem Ephratah, y'all said, well, it was already called that. This is Moses writing. He says Rachel was buried near this region, which is Bethlehem Ephratah. So he's saying that presently, as you know, at Bethlehem, this was in this times past scenario where Rachel was buried. Her remains were buried in this region that you know today as Bethlehem Ephratah. That Ephratah does signify a correlation with her grandchildren, which we see is proven by history, which we know through history. Now, how is this verified? The law of first mention. When you first hear about the word Ephrathite, we see this in the story of Ruth. We see this with a prominent Ephrathite family. We see this with Elimelech, his wife Naomi. They had two sons, Malion and Kilion, one of which was married to Ruth. Now, when they went to Moab, during the time of the famine in Jerusalem, they went to Moab. Our people were known for migrating to different regions. There was a strong Afro-Asiatic connection. These are the ancient Asiatics. This is where the Moors connect that Moabite history with Ruth, right? So, when they went to Moab during the time of the famine, Malion, Kilion, the sons died, and Elimelech, the father, died. That terminated his lineage. Now, the Bible tells you that they were Ephrathites within Bethlehem. Now, this is where when you research Ephrathite, you'll see H673, that is, there is no distinction between Ephrathite in the Strong's Concordance and Ephraimite in the Strong's Concordance. What does that mean, JB? If you Google Ephrathite, the Hebrew word, if you Google Ephraimite, the Hebrew word, there's only one word that comes up, which is the same for both. There's one Hebrew word and two created words. Why they created two distinctions between Bethlehem as an Ephrathite, even though they knew that these were Ephraimites that lived there, and just regular Ephraimites, the Judean scribes. I'm just telling y'all, this is what the facts check out. We also see this with Samuel's pedigree. In 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 1, it says that Samuel from Mount Ephraim in Ephrathite. So he was actually from the land that was given to Ephraim as an Ephraimite, right? This is different from an Ephraimite that lived in Bethlehem in Judea, because that's where their forefather Rachel was buried. So there's double fruit. You had Ephraim's borders, then you had an Ephraimite family that were inside of Judah's borders. Y'all got to study this stuff. I'm telling you, you got to study. Now you see this with Samuel's lineage. You also see this with the forefather of the Yoruba and the Igbo people, King Yaruba or Jeroboam. In 1 Kings chapter 11 verse 26, we see that Jeroboam is referred to as an Ephrathite, and everybody knows he was an Ephraimite. So we know that word is synonymous with Ephraimite, but it is a distinction because you had some Ephraimites that were in Mount Ephraim, the borders given to Ephraim, and you had some Ephraimites that were in Bethlehem, right? But they all were the same tribe of Ephraim. This is the pedigree that David comes from. Now let's go back to the book of Ruth with the law first mentioned. So a lot of y'all keep hitting me with Pharez's lineage going to Judah. And there's so many ways I can cut this. I can cut this a way that's gonna seem biased to you, but it's actually rooted in scholarship. But I can just say the Judean scribes slapped that on there, added those verses in there. A lot of y'all will be like, oh heck no. But I don't have to do that, because the whole story, the heartbeat of Ruth, tells you exactly what happened. Boaz's lineage never mattered. I repeat, Boaz, whether it's Pharez's lineage going back to Judah, or whether it was an Ephrathite like the kinsman redeemer, would make sense, just like any other Ephraimite in Bethlehem. It doesn't matter. The only lineage that matters, and I'm gonna prove that. A lot of y'all like, oh, this brother just saying something. No, there's a reason I said that. Because the law of the kinsman redeemer. The only lineage that mattered was Elimelech's lineage. Boaz was doing the due diligence as the closest of kin, which he wasn't the closest of kin. There was another brother that was closer in kin that was gonna marry Ruth, have a kid to raise up Naomi's womb or her seed, right? To raise up that family's inheritance, that family tribal heritage and all that good stuff, right? So there was a closest kin, but he denied doing that part because he had a prominent name within Ephraim. He knew that if he got with Ruth and had a baby with her, all of that goes into the pot of Elimelech. Every baby that they have, he's raising up the seed unto Elimelech. That's what Boaz was doing. That's the mystery, family. That say Boaz, based on the scriptures, is Judah. The beauty is Judah was used to resurrect the name and lineage of Ephraim. And the name goes to Ephraim because of the law of the kinsman redeemer. That's the beauty of the scriptures. David in himself was those two kingdoms united. Yeah, it's so much to this that y'all are not studying. But the paternal lineage is ascribed to Ephraim, which is why you see in 1 Samuel chapter 17 verse 12 that it says David the son of Jesse the Ephraimite. Because David's father Jesse, whose father was Obed, was the son of Ruth and Boaz, right? Boaz, who was raising up that Ephrathite Elimelech seed because Elimelech died and his two sons. That's the story of Ruth, y'all. So I know a lot of y'all ain't reading the scriptures and not studying to show yourself approved. But you getting in them comments, raising hell, saying all manner of evil against me and saying that I'm taking a check by saying that you're the double fruit, birthright, blessed, chosen nation of Israel. Just because you ain't studying. A lot of y'all just, so we ain't Judah? No, Negro, you are not Judah. You belong to the northern kingdom or Israel. Simply put, you are an Israelite. You are not a Jew. You are an Israelite. That's what the history suggests. If you say you're a descendant of David, I just went through David's lineage. It is Ephraimite lineage. The founders of Nigeria were northern kingdom Ephraimites, double fruit. The northern kingdom settled in that region, and then David's seed that migrated into North Africa and had settlement within Iberia, those Sephardic families, the Danyayas, the Abarbanels. David's seed also that went into Morocco, went deeper into the west coast and went into Yoruba land. That's the oral tradition of the Yoruba Benayah Ephraim, that they are children of Ephraim that come from Morocco. And we know based on Henry Gratz, the most prized Jewish historian, that somewhere between 800,000 or about 400,000 to 800,000 at least, what they want to say, Israelite Sephardic families went into Africa via the Gibraltar Straits, Morocco, which is west or northwest Africa. And they continued southward to settle in sub-Saharan West Africa, the Gold Coast, Yoruba land, where they knew a lot of their people had already settled. I talked about Derek Lang, the anthropologist, who did a anthropological study, has done like 15 research trips to Nigeria. Y'all, the people I give you, I give you Harvard, I give you anthropology, I give you Oxford, I give you Cambridge, I give you the slave maps that were used and confirmed by Alan Godby that talk about the Benayah Ephraim that is slapped right on the Benin area that belongs to the Yoruba people to this day. The Yoruba people are not just confined to Nigeria, but there's Yoruba land that has Benin, Togo. You have different Yoruba people that make up that whole slave coast area. That's why 44% of the slaves came from the Yoruba people. But y'all Negroes are gonna attack the ancestry of what gave you life because you're afraid to acknowledge that everything you need is your ancestors. Everything you need is the oral tradition of your people. The Yoruba, those Nigerians, know that they are Israelites of the house of Israel. They are not Jews. That's a contemporary term, and they're not even linked to Judah. They are northern kingdom Israelites. Now, you did have Judah that went into the continent of Africa. Some of y'all are misconstrued that. You got the Aba Uganda people of Uganda. You can say the Limba tribe is accounted as Judah because of the Levites. You had a kingdom of Judah that was also on the slave maps. So I'm not saying that there is no Judah, but the predominant amount of African Americans and diaspora of African people were northern kingdom Israelites. What do I mean? Were Nigerians, right? The Igbo, the Yoruba. 44% the Yoruba and about 40% doggone Igbo. And that's like 85%, I know 84 to be exact, but 85%, just including them, and then you have Bantu extracts. Come on, y'all. So if I'm gonna get crucified for standing for the oral tradition of this people and standing for Joseph, y'all, I'm just gonna have to do the work. Because a lot of y'all are afraid. You get on My True Ancestry, and I went through the My True Ancestry, the old archaeology. It tells you your Yoruba Moors that come from Al-Andalus. It's right there. Some of y'all said, well, JB, I just see Yoruba on mine. That still means that you're an Israelite. It just means you might not be a part of that Benayah Ephraim migration that recently happened. But if you come up as Yoruba, it's too many facts that prove that the origin of that people were the same and coincide with the Igbo people. Their DNA being somewhere between 99.7 to 99.9% accurate. And I'm not making that up, y'all. They are so identical that on my 23andMe, they link me to the Igbo, but my African ancestry links me to the Yoruba. Speaking of African ancestry, a lot of my people don't do scholarship. Oh, African ancestry is wrong. They link the Igbo man to somewhere else. We don't know that we're one family, y'all. They found Igbo people in the Americas. That's where you get Gad Native American correlation with the 12 tribes chart. I'm not co-signing it, but there is a historical thread that binds it. You're gonna find E1B1A, you're gonna find Negro DNA, the whole sub-Saharan region of Africa. So of course somebody that's Igbo could do their African ancestry and show up as Yoruba, right? Because they're the same people. There's a minor difference between the tribes, but it's so minute that you can't even tell that thing between Ephraim and Gad or Manasseh and what's another, Zebulun. I'm basing that on the Jewish Encyclopedia of the Diaspora. I ain't wanna just pick random tribes. You got Dahomey, going back to the tribe of Dan. You have some Ethiopian tribe of Dan as well, some House of Joseph. A lot of y'all talk about Menelik and y'all talk about Haile Selassie of the Ethiopians that traced his lineage back to Solomon. Like I told y'all, Solomon was a part of the greatest dynasty of the southern kingdom of Judah. He was king of Judah, right? Judah. His lineage is through David, whose lineage is through Jesse, the Ephraimite of Bethlehem within Judah. I know y'all say I'm crossing hairs. The devil is in the detail. So your DNA is going to show up as Northern Kingdom, but yes, you can say Judah if you're looking at the house of David, because David was an Ephraimite, a part of an Ephraimite family within Judah. So if you have families in Africa that say that, okay, we come from the house of David, y'all run with that and say, see, that say they're the tribe of Judah. That does not say they're the tribe of Judah. It says they're the family, the house of David. David was an Ephraimite that lived in Bethlehem within Judah. So yes, he came out of Judah, but the Most High had a tucked away town because he knew people were still our birthright. Y'all got to catch this. And he hid our lineage in plain sight. Now today, most of these Europeans, they know this scholarship. They know who we are as a people, but they also know we're going to reject being called Northern Kingdom Israelites. We would rather be Jews. We want to be Jew, which is a modern created term by Europeans. Jew, and I'm talking, it is, because people did not refer to themselves in antiquity. They were referred to as tribes. Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Naphtali, Gad, Issachar, Reuben, that kind of thing. The word Jew is contemporary for the Israelites during the Second Temple era that lived under the Southern Kingdom, specifically when they rebuilt the temple, and the laws, the culture, the Babylonian Talmud, all the different traditions that they acquired in exile. That conglomeration of Orthodox Judaism is where we get the present term Jew. That's a present construct with a lot of Edomite influence. A lot of y'all don't do this. It's so much Edomite influence, because when you look at Josephus talks about the Pharisees and the Sadducees not being Jews by birth. He talks about the Herodian dynasty that were Edomites. Translation, JB, white folks infiltrated Judah to persecute the black Ephraimites. That's as clear cut as you're gonna get. The Moorish Ephrati of Morocco, the Maghrebian region, those Sephardic families, those are the ones that migrated the David family to hide from the Inquisition in 1492. They were banished. Now the Inquisition started around the 1400s when they were doing investigations into these crypto Jews. Israelites that were acting like they were Christians, knew the Christian customs, but behind the scenes they were naming their kids Christian names, Hebrew names. They were keeping Shabbat. They were not eating pork. They were wearing fresh, clean fringes and garments on the Sabbath. They adhered to Judaism. They were afraid of our Israelite ancestors because they had a monopoly on finance, on resources. They were ingenuitive. They were business minded. They were very savvy. So they feared that if our people dominated Spain, we would creep our culture into it. So Christian North or Christian Edom, Christian West Rome, investigated an inquisition on all of these secret Israelites, and they burned them jokers to death. And I got Harvard literature by E.H. Lindo that says burn these Negroes at the doors of the church. Burn the Negroes is so much history. So those Sephardic families were Moorish Ephraimites. I showed y'all the Tel Aviv Virtual Library, or the Tel Aviv Jerusalem Library, and the Jewish Virtual Library that talks about Wifran. According to Judeo-African religion, these were one of the first settlements of Israelites within the continent, was in Morocco. Some people trace this during the time even of ancient Egypt, that Joseph had a kingdom within Morocco even during the time of Egypt, right? It's a lot of deep oral tradition that goes into when that Israelite kingdom was founded, right? So what I'm saying, family, is the oral tradition of the Yoruba and Ephraim. I got just too many. The Jewish Encyclopedia, I'm gonna put that on the screen. Oxford, she talks in detail. I'm gonna put that on the screen. Harvard. We got the Cambridge source by Ulysses Santa Maria. It's like 10 different sources. I'm gonna do a video screen share to kind of show y'all me just typing in Yoruba Benayah Ephraim, and I'm gonna show you how many different sources come up, right? Y'all, there's so much research into us being that people. Why is that important? When you're looking at David's lineage. A lot of us, we don't pay attention to Henry Gratz and a lot of these Jewish historians that say that they sought to take descendants of David's house or from the tribe of Judah, and they placed them within Iberia, circled during like the First Temple era and that kind of thing, where they transplanted a lot of these David families into Iberia, right? Now, what we don't pay attention to, it says the house of David, or at least the tribe of Judah. The house of David was a unique scenario of Ephraimites within Bethlehem, within Judah, that were celebrated as Judah. You can say David was Judah, but if you cross-examine it, his blood was Ephraimite. He was a part of an Ephraimite clan that lived within Bethlehem. So now, family, I'm gonna do a screen record, and I'm gonna put some scriptures up, and I'm gonna show y'all. A lot of y'all been saying that Ephraim wasn't scattered to the four corners of the earth. Y'all, I got scriptures and prophecies that say that I will regather Ephraim from the north country. I'm talking about, it's too many precepts, y'all. But I'm gonna do a screen record to put the Bible on the screen, and I'm gonna go through some of these scriptures as the Most High kind of leads me and brings these scriptures to my remembrance. And we're gonna prove this Ephraimite, Davidic, Messiah undertone, and I'm gonna come back and do some more teaching, follow up on the Yoruba being connected to Ephraim. Don't be afraid when you do your DNA, when you do your My True Ancestry and you see Yoruba. Be proud to be an Israelite. Proud to be a Northern Kingdom Israelite. Y'all ashamed of being an Israelite? Oh, I want to be a Jew. Y'all, it's stuff that just don't even make common sense. So y'all, I hope y'all got something. Now let's go ahead and go to the next segment where I'm going to go through these scriptures. Let's check it out.
Shalom, family. So yeah, we're back in this thing, y'all. And family, I just got to make this comment. I know the work that I'm doing is a massive work. It's a lot, and it goes against a lot of what we've been taught, even within Israel, right? And it's not easy, y'all. I mean, y'all don't know how much of my soul I lay out, and I'm not gonna go into detail just how heavy this stuff is on my heart, because I just get that to the Most High. But if y'all heard, if I just went into detail and told you how many tears and just how much you would, but I'm not gonna even go into that, because we signed up for this as teachers, as leaders within Israel, and the Most High never said it was going to be easy to resurrect Zion. It's a reason why they thought that the lost 10 tribes were lost, because the Most High, it would seem, had decimated Ephraim and had chastened his son Ephraim to the point of no restoration. And so you're dealing with a movement that's going on when you're trying to resurrect an entire kingdom and give Africa the life of Joseph, and to resuscitate, if you will, the oral history that has been lost from our ancestors, right? Well, a lot of them over there got it, but over here in America, we're cut off from that, right? So I got a bunch of scriptures up that go into Joseph, that go into Ephraim. But first, I want to take you guys to something that's near on my heart. In the book of Jeremiah, the Most High gave me this scripture when a lot of y'all were saying that, well, You know, it never said that Joseph was going to be scattered to the four corners of the earth. Whenever y'all make statements like that, you got to know if you're talking to an Ephraimite, that you contradict yourself by the person that you're talking to. The very fact that you're talking to me disproves that, because I can prove my pedigree, right? So, well, okay, it was one or two, or it was a few Ephraimites. Then you start playing a tit for tat game, which we can pull up the slave documents and we can find out just how many Yoruba were taken, right? So now let's go to Jeremiah 31. I just want to start with this a little bit. Y'all, there's so many scriptures about God regathering Ephraim, the northern kingdom. But I'm going to look at Jeremiah 31 and I'm going to go to Isaiah 11, since a lot of y'all love to go there. A lot of y'all didn't read the entire chapter, but we're going to deal with it, right? So in Jeremiah 31, it says, at the same time, saith the Most High Yah. And y'all, I got to fight for Joseph. It's the man on the Most High put on me. At the same time, saith the Most High Yah, will I be the creator, the power, the sustainer of all the families of Israel. Right? So this is a period of restoration for all of Israel. This is what's going on with our people now, so-called African Americans, so-called Haitian blacks, so-called Caribbean blacks, the diaspora of those Israelite tribes from Africa that were scattered. We're seeing them being restored. This is a beautiful time. And they shall be my people. So the Most High is saying, this is my people. I'm going to restore the families of Israel, regather them from the four corners, right? Thus saith the Most High Yah, the people which were left of the sword found grace in the wilderness. Some people argue America's that wilderness. But in this context, the people of God, the Most High Yah's people that are left, even Israel, when I went to cause him to rest, right? So when our people receive the curses of Deuteronomy 28, when we receive the plagues, those that are left, those that are the remnant, right? Our people now that are still alive to see this history come forth, the Most High is going to cause him to see his rest. He's going to allow us to return back to Zion. We represent the awakening of Israel, which is the first fruit of us going back to the land, right? We're the remnant. A lot of our forefathers didn't make it, family. A lot of them were fed to alligators. A lot of them were lynched. A lot of them were mutilated. A lot of them were beat beyond recognition. A lot of them were killed for crimes they didn't commit. This is our history, family. We are the descendants of that people, the Israelites, the children of the Most High Yah. We are the remnant that is left in captivity. Verse 3. The Most High Yah hath appeared of old unto me. Now this is the prophet Jeremiah saying, yes, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore with loving kindness have I drawn you. He's saying, I love Israel. I ain't forgot about my people. And I'm going to love you with an everlasting love, even though it seems like I had to whoop you. I had to take my belt off. Even in the wilderness, you're going to find grace. Now watch this now. Verse 4. Again I will build you, and thou shalt be built, O virgin of Israel. Now, just to kind of explain this, when you see Israel through these prophetic writings, this is post the split of the kingdoms that happened by Rehoboam, the son of Solomon. So prophet Jeremiah is after that takes place, after the kingdom split. So when he refers to Israel, he is talking about northern kingdom. And I know a lot of y'all might not be convinced, but the chapter is going to show it, and we're going to read it. So, and I will build you, and you will be built, O virgin of Israel. Talking about Ephraim. Thou shalt again be adorned with your tabrets, with your tinkling ornaments. A lot of the West Africans do that to this day. And shall go forth in dances of them that make you merry. You're going to rejoice when I restore you and show all the nations how much I love you. Verse 5. Thou shalt yet plant vines upon the mountains of Samaria. The planter shall plant and shall eat them as common things. Now y'all check this out now. Whenever you see these plant and vine imagery, the true vine, that grapevine imagery, this is Josephite, Ephraimite, Samaria language. That's why this goes back to Genesis 49, the prophecy that Jacob gave to his son Joseph about Joseph being this fruitful vine whose branches run over the wall of the well. He's planted by rivers of living water. We see this in Psalms chapter 1 verse 3. There's so many metaphors that y'all will be like, whoa, that connects with that. If David was an Ephraimite, he said planted by rivers of living water. Wait, in Genesis 49, it says that Joseph's descendants will be planted by wells. Wait, YESHUA sat at Joseph's well and said, I'm the true vine. I'm the Messiah. to the Samaritan woman who said, are you greater than our father Jacob? I'm telling y'all, it's so much receipts to what I'm telling you. I just need y'all to bear with me. Be open, take notes, write down these precepts, and study them for yourself. Verse 5. Thou shalt yet plant vines. This is talking about Ephraim's restoration upon the mountains of Samaria. Up, it proved it, which was the capital of Ephraim. The planter shall plant and shall eat them as common things. It's not going to be so many fruits like the Garden of Eden that you're going to eat grapes and stuff like it ain't nothing, right? As common things. Verse 6. For there shall be a day that the watchmen upon Mount Ephraim. Now I'm going to show y'all that they were scattered to the four corners. We're going to deal with it. We're going to take it slow. For there shall be a day that the watchmen upon the Mount Ephraim shall cry, arise ye, and let us go up to Zion, unto the Lord our God. So there's going to come a day where the Most High prophesies he's going to have watchmen, prophets of Ephraim that are going to be watching. They're going to have prophetic discernment. They're going to see the dry bones coming together. They're going to sound the alarm of the restoration of the greatest nation. Y'all better hear me. And they shall cry and say, come on, family. It's time for us to go back to Zion, or to go up to Zion unto the Most High Yah, our God. This is our Father who ain't forgot about us. Not the God of everybody. This is the Most High saying, I love my firstborn Ephraim. I love my firstborn Israel. Before Gentiles can cleave, I gotta give the earnest fruit, the precious bread, to my children that have been told for so long that they are nothing, that they don't have no history, right? That they don't come from anything. The Most High, performing the greatest balancing act in human history, will take the least of these and take the least and make them the greatest, and take those that are last and make them first. For many are called, but only Israel is chosen, y'all better hear me, to be a world without end before their Father. That's why we had to go through what we went through. Let's keep reading. Verse 7. For thus saith the Most High Yah, sing with gladness for Jacob. Now this is talking about Ephraim, because Jacob passed that name to the birthright son Joseph, who passed it to the birthright son Ephraim. Sing with gladness, and I'm going to prove it. It's going to say it for itself. Don't get me wrong. Line upon line. In the same context, in the same chapter. Sing with gladness for Jacobi, and shout among the chief of the nations. Publish ye, praise ye, and say, O Yah, save your people, the remnant of your people Israel that's left in captivity. Remember your faithfulness, O Yah. Remember the alligator bait. Remember that we were a byword and a proverb. Remember the precious planning and the crafty counsel that the nations have conspired against to eradicate the name of Israel out of remembrance. To say that they're lost tribes. To say that they don't exist anymore. We don't know where they're at. Save your people, those that are left. In the midst of the burning flames, those that stand as the three Hebrew boys and say, we are here, O Yahweh. Remember your firstborn, your darling son. Verse 8. Behold, I will bring them from the north country. Let me say it. Let me pause. And I hope y'all kept listening, because I know I did a prelude. Some of y'all stopped listening, and those going to be the ones that jump into the comment section that ain't taking notes, that ain't writing down precepts, that's just hype beast and just riding off clout. Now let's look at this. Yeah, I said it, clout. All the ones that try to use Zion Dynasty name for clout. The big channels and the small channels coming after a small channel that was 300 subscribers 3 months ago, clout. Now y'all pay attention as I read this verse again. Behold, I will bring them from the north country. Wait, who is he talking about? He's talking about Jacob, right? Well, you're saying he's talking about Ephraim in verse 6. But he's going to bring them from the north country. I thought Judah was the only one scattered. This is talking about the Judean kingdom during the time of the Second Temple era. Those Judeans, that is not saying just the tribe of Judah. The Israelites that lived within the borders that were scattered from Jerusalem when Rome conquered and destroyed the temple. It says right here about Ephraim, I will bring them from the north country. What does that sound like? It don't take no deep Israelite theologian to say something came to your mind right there. Absolutely, the United States of Babylon. Let's keep reading. And gather them from the coast of the earth. Oh, whoa, they was in the coast of the earth? On the islands? You talking about Cuba? You You talking about Puerto Rico? Oh, you talking about Trinidad, Tobago? You talking about the Caribbeans? You talking about St. Vincent? Oh, you're going to regather Ephraim? Oh, a coat of many colors? You're going to regather and bring them from the north country and from the coast of the sea. And with them, the blind, people that went through hell of our people, the lame, the woman that's pregnant. He said, I'm going to get y'all as you are. You're going to be, some of y'all going to be in infirmity. You're going to be tired. You're going to be lame. You're going to be blind. You're going to be, some of y'all women going to be pregnant when I come and get my babies, when I come and get my people, when I come and get my firstborn and take you back to the land that I swore to give your forefathers. The nations know that ain't their land. They know they on borrowed time. When I come and get my firstborn, even Ephraim, and we going to see it, a great company shall return back to that land. Verse 9, they shall come crying, because when they think, y'all, oh man, they shall come weeping, and with supplication will I lead them. Watch this now. I will cause them to walk by the rivers of waters in a straight way, wherein they shall not stumble. For I am a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. Yep. Now watch this. Hear the word of the Most High Yah, O ye nations, and declare it in the islands afar off. He that scattered Israel will gather him, and keep him as a shepherd doth his flock. For the Most High Yah hath redeemed Jacob, and ransomed him from the hand of him that was stronger than him. Y'all better hear me now. I take this stuff seriously, y'all. Our people don't understand how much the Father's heart is in his people coming back together. And the tribe that he chose to epitomize the love that a father has for a son is Ephraim. So when I see my people look at the Yoruba, and they got the oral tradition, the anthropologists, Harvard, Cambridge, the Jewish Encyclopedia, Dr. Windsor, all of them saying that this is who y'all are. When y'all run from what's right there to say, let's find the limber. And of course, we're going to be related to the limber, y'all, because they all Israelites. But the beauty is, we that firstborn son, y'all. We're the house of Joseph. That coat of many colors that was sold into the pit in slavery out of envy because they knew who we were. And the Bible, the word of the Most High Yah is clear, y'all. Woe unto him that adds and takes away from that book. I don't know what them Judean scribes did. Why they took H673 in the Strong's Concordance and made two separate words. Only the Most High gonna judge that thing. But everything that's done in the dark gonna be brought to the light. Because it's been a secret plot to destroy Joseph. The same spirit that goes all the way back to the first book of the Bible. The power of the prophecy of the Most High. The same hatred that the archers had for Joseph, and they shot at him. They shot at him. They thought he was going to die in that pit. If it wasn't for Reuben and Judah as well, Judah said, okay, we can't kill the boy, because if we do, our father's heart is going to break. So we're going to take that which he loved, that coat that he put on him to symbolize his specialness, and we're going to tear that thing to shreds. That means many pieces of our people scattered. Even psychologically, y'all, we fractured as a people. We got elements of our tradition, our history over here. We got the white man that divided Africa up and said the Igbo, where they got the name, and the Yoruba got the oral tradition. We're fractured. They took that coat of many colors and they cut it up in pieces. And they dipped it in blood, made it look tattered, destroyed, and said, we don't know what happened to Joseph. But in their secret plots, they said, we're going to see what happens to his dreams now. We're going to see if the God that is able to resurrect from the grave, if he can resurrect this boy from this pit that we finna pit him in. They didn't know that the Ishmaelites, the Midianites were coming through. Now this is where you get into the two Afras. That's why people sided with the Midianites and the Ishmaelites when you look at the time of the Moors. But that's a whole nother thing. That's prophecy. When they came and found that boy in the pit, they said, oh, okay, well, we'll sell y'all to sell him instead. But we don't know how long Joseph was in that pit. All he wanted to do was be received by his brethren, having a dream that he didn't know why he had this dream that he was going to be used for greatness and that he was going to be ahead and his brother was going to bow down. And you know he was a young man. You know that Joseph probably took that and ran with it, probably brought it up too much, probably frustrated his older brothers because they would have been far older than Joseph. And that he kept running his mouth and they said, we're going to do something about this. He a snitch too because he snitched on Reuben, sleeping with his handmaiden. He running his mouth. We're going to put him in the pit to destroy him. But y'all don't know the God that fights for Joseph from the pit. Y'all better hear me. Even when they thought didn't nobody see him, he probably cried for bread. He cried for water. Ain't nobody coming till the Ishmaelites came, the Midianites came. They sold him into Egypt. They thought that was the end of the story. They thought surely Joseph going to be a slave just like the rest of them. Joseph going to become nothing. We might not even hear his name no more. That's why when you read Genesis 49 that it says that the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh comes. Y'all misappropriate that Shiloh meaning a Messiah from Judah. I agree it's a messianic prophecy, but it doesn't coincide with the context. You're saying that the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between Judah's feet until the Judah Messiah comes? So you're saying it's not going to depart Judah until the Messiah from Judah comes. Clearly, Shiloh has to signify something else, an outside tribe. Google Shiloh, and what do you find? Ephraim. Let me do it. Because y'all think I'm making it up. Let me. Now, if you Google Shiloh, now this is just Wikipedia. It ain't the most credible. It ain't Harvard or something, but it gives you a basic idea. Shiloh was an ancient city and sanctuary in Samaria. Now, if you hover over it, Samaria is the ancient historical biblical name used for the central region of the land of Israel, bordered by Judea to the south and Galilee to the north. Right? According to the Hebrew Bible, Shiloh was the central sanctuary of the Israelites during the pre-monarchy period before the first temple. Right? Now, let's see. A lot of y'all like, well, what does that have to do with Ephraim? Let me just do a control find. I just searched them. Okay, let's click on that Samaria link. Okay, because a lot of y'all basic historical places and geographical regions within the Bible, a lot of us have not been taught this basic, what is Samaria, what is Northern Kingdom, what is Israel, what's the house of Israel, what is Ephraim, how is it synonymous with all the tribes. It helps you understand prophecy. So what I did, I just clicked Samaria within Shiloh, because Samaria, or Shiloh, as we saw, was an ancient city and sanctuary in Samaria. Now, when you click Samaria, it is an ancient historic biblical name used for the central region of the land of Israel, like we just saw, bordered by Judea to the south and Galilee to the north. The first century historian Josephus set the Mediterranean Sea as its limit to the west and the Jordan River as its limit to the east. Its territory largely corresponds to the biblical allotments of the tribe of Ephraim and the western half of Manasseh. Both of these, the two sons of Joseph. So y'all got to really pay attention to these things. So when we look at things like Genesis, I think I have Genesis 49 up. All praises. Okay. So when we read in Genesis 49 about Judah, let's go to it, because a lot of y'all, I haven't seen too many comments lately, but I have seen this and I want to deal with it. It says in verse 10, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come, and unto him shall be the gathering of the people. Now, when you look at the story, y'all got to understand what was going on with Joseph. Joseph was in the pit. We didn't know what was going to become of Joseph. They thought he was dead. They sold him into Egypt. During that time, Reuben disqualified himself because he slept with the handmaiden. Maybe that's who Joseph snitched on, but that's disqualified Reuben. Simeon and Levi, because they went on a killing spree because Dinah, their sister's virginity, was taken. They were disqualified. And Judah inherited the scepter, the leadership of the tribes, right? Now keep in mind, all of this is happening legalistically, because Jacob's heart was always with Rachel, always with Joseph, but Joseph is thought to be dead. So Judah inherited the mantle. Now when Joseph is shown to be alive, it's when all of the sons are unified and Jacob in Egypt, and all the sons bow before him, fulfilling the dream that he had, right? And this is the context that goes into the prophecy, that the scepter will not leave Judah, nor a lawgiver, until Shiloh comes. That's a messianic prophecy for Joseph, and unto him shall be the gathering of the people. We also see this in Genesis 48 with the blessings of Ephraim. Let's see, that he shall become a fullness of nations. Let me find it. Oh, I love Genesis 48. Let me read a little bit of it. So Jacob is given the blessing to Ephraim and Manasseh. We see this in chapter 48 before 49, where he gives an additional blessing to all the 12 patriarchs. He had a separate blessing for Joseph's two sons in the previous chapter. So when one told Jacob and said, behold, thy son Joseph comes unto thee, and Israel strengthened himself, because he was on his deathbed, and sat up to be able to bless his seed. The Almighty Yah appeared unto me at Luz in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said unto me, behold, I will make you fruitful, and multiply you, and make of thee a multitude of people. That means that it was destined that through Jacob's seed, Israel, multitudes of people would multiply on the earth. Our people were scattered everywhere, and we're a prolific progenitous, what's the word? Replicating, fruitful people, right? We have a bunch of babies. And I will give this land to thy seed after thee for an everlasting possession. Talking about Canaan. That's how that's the promised land. Even if our people had different territories in the Americas, the promised land was always Canaan. Verse 5. And now thy two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, which were born unto thee in the land of Egypt, Mizraim, before I came unto you in Egypt, they're going to be like my firstborn and my secondborn son, Reuben and Simeon. And he puts it in order. So he says Ephraim and Manasseh are going to be like Reuben and Simeon. So we see Ephraim, just based on that, is getting that birthright, that firstborn son. This stuff is powerful. So David's lineage being tied to Ephraim was the greatest act of the Most High, reconciling the birthright with the kingship, because we see, like I showed y'all in Genesis 49, that the scepter would not depart from Judah in the very last breath until Joseph came. This is why it was rightfully so that Boaz's lineage, going back to Pharez of Judah, was the lineage used to resuscitate Joseph, giving the credence to Joseph in the book of Ruth. It's very powerful, family. Verse 6. And thy issue, which comes after them, that belongs to you, Joseph. So every kid you have after that, you can have it. But these two are holy babies, and they belong to me. And shall be called after the name of their brethren in their inheritance. They're going to be like the patriarchs of the 12 tribes. Because we see that Levi did not get an inheritance with his brethren, but was divided as priests to be among all the tribes. So that will make 11 tribes. Joseph replaced with Ephraim, so it's still 11. Add Manasseh, 12 tribes. Joseph gets double fruit. Now that double fruit is going to come back with the two royal houses of the royal kingdoms. Now let's keep reading. As for me, when I came from Padan, Rachel died by me in my hands. Y'all got to feel the heart of the father. The woman that I worked 21 years to get, I'm holding her as she takes her last breath. This the love that trickled down to the seed of Joseph. Now I'm going to go to Matthew 2 that says that Rachel cries for her son because her sons are not. And that was mentioned when Herod was killing the babies in Bethlehem, which is where Christ was from. Why is Rachel crying and Leah is the mother of Judah? Let's keep reading. Rachel died by me in the land of Canaan in my hands, took her last breath in the way. When yet there was only a little bit way to get to a town where we could have got her some medical treatment in Ephrath. And I buried her there in the way of Ephrath, the same which is Bethlehem. So the place that you know as Bethlehem, this is where Rachel was buried. It is named Bethlehem Ephratah in remembrance of Rachel, specifically her grandson Ephraim, doubly fruitful. Now let's look at verse 8. And y'all can look at the Strong's Concordance. And Israel beheld Joseph's sons and said, who are these? Now, he already blessed the younger one first, which is very interesting. But his eyes were probably dim, so he didn't do it based on the flesh. Y'all hear me? A lot of y'all finding out y'all Israel. Oh, we Judah, we Judah. Oh yeah, we Judah. I heard somebody say we Judah. It's fleshly. And the Most High is going to discern those that are really in the spirit to really want to honor those that came before them, their forefathers, and know from whence they come. Now, Jacob was able to bless Joseph's sons without even seeing Ephraim and Manasseh. He named them by name. It's spiritual. This goes back to the heart of the Father. He ain't just threw that away. A lot of y'all saying, no, God, I heard somebody comment on the channel, God is a Jew. I'm like, Negro, what the? And I don't comment too, I just let him talk. Now let's keep reading. Verse 9. And Joseph said unto his Abba, they are my sons, whom Elohim hath given me in this place, in the midst of captivity, in the midst of the place they thought I was going to die, I was fruitful in. That's what Ephraim means. Manasseh means to forget. Joseph said he made me forget all the hell that my brothers put me through when he got through blessing me with that double fruit. In this place, in captivity, in the place where I was sent to die, because of envy, because of a dream that I didn't make my brain have, but was a vision by the inspiration of the Creator. And he said, bring your babies unto me, I pray thee, unto me, and I will bless them. Verse 10. Now the eyes of Israel. Now you see, when it calls Jacob, is usually to show his humanity. Israel is to show his spirituality. So it's showing you the eyes of Israel were dim, to show you that spiritually he recognized the son. And I just dropped that nugget for y'all. So that he could not physically see. And he brought them unto him and kissed them. And Israel said to Joseph, I didn't think to see your face, son. Your own people said you was dead. Your own people sold you into slavery. Y'all got to hear this thing. Your own people put you on a transatlantic. Your own people thought that I wasn't gonna see your face no more. They thought that their wicked deed could separate a father's heart and his love for his son. Hear me. I didn't think to see your face, my son. But at the same time, God showed me your seed. Another generation. That's double fruit, ain't it? Verse 12. And Joseph brought them out from between his knees, little babies, little baby boys, and bowed himself with his face to the dirt before his elder Yaakov, be his father, Abba. Verse 13. And Joseph took them both, those bright boys, and said, Ephraim, and his right hand toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh in his left hand toward Israel's right hand. Now Joseph tried to rig it. He tried to take Ephraim, put him in Israel, his father's left hand, because he's thinking the right hand is dominance. It's the birthright. And Israel, without even being able to see in the flesh, said, you can't stop this work. Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it upon Ephraim's head, who was the younger. And I bet you Joseph was freaking out. He said, not so. It's not about the flesh, y'all. Because according to the flesh, Leah was supposed to have the prerogative. Judah was supposed to always reign. Y'all gotta hear me. Leah was technically the wife of Jacob's virginity. You see the power of the love of the Most High to go after Rachel, to go after Joseph. And a lot of y'all don't see that this is a testament to the so-called black man, the descendants of the house of Joseph, Israelites. And Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it upon Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand upon Manasseh, guiding his hands knowingly. He knew what he was doing, for Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph and said, God Elohim Alahayim, before whom my fathers Abraham and Yitzhak did walk, the power which fed me all my life long unto this day, the angel that redeemed me from every ounce of evil that was meant to destroy me, bless these babies the same way. Y'all got to see this does not go away, family. And that's to our glory, being descendants of this people. And let my name be named upon Ephraim and Manasseh. Let the name of my forefathers go on top of these babies. That means those that curse Ephraim, they cursing Joseph, but they also cursing Jacob. but they also cursing Yitzhak, but they also cursing Abraham. And the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. Now we see Joseph said, what is going on? And Joseph tried to swap it, and he said, no, son, I did this intentionally. Now let's skip to verse 19. And his father, I had to do a follow-up because this one's going 30 minutes. And his father refused and said, no, I know what I'm doing, son. The younger is going to be a great nation. Now the house of Joseph going to be something fierce. He going to be great now. But truly his younger brother going to be greater than he. And his seed shall become a multitude of nations. I repeat, in the Hebrew is goyim. And his seed shall become the Gentiles. Catch it. That's why Christ said he's going to the lost sheep. That's why the Pharisees said, where is Christ going to go that we can't find him? Is he going to go to the scattered sheep that live among the Gentiles? The heart of Yahusha was his blood. He knew he was a descendant of David the Ephraimite. That's why he went to the Samaritan woman. He had a heart to unite all the tribes. And he had a heart that beat it for Ephraim specifically because it was the heartbeat of his father. And he came to do his father's will. Because it shows you that Ephraim will become a multitude of nations. So it shows you all. I showed y'all Jeremiah 31. I didn't finish reading it. But it shows you that Ephraim will become a multitude, a coat of many colors. They will be scattered to the four corners. There's more scripture to substantiate Ephraim having this happen to them than any other of the tribes or the kingdoms. All right. Now, let me go back to Jeremiah and make sure I covered that part. I want to go to Isaiah 11 as well. So we see in Jeremiah, verse 31, that it says that I will bring them, in verse 8, from the north country and gather them from the coast of the earth. Now, y'all, what's powerful about this is it proves that Ephraim was scattered to the four corners through those Ephraimites specifically that were in the land of Judea during the time of the Second Temple era. Now, what's more profound is if you scroll down, now the whole context is Ephraim. It talks about him being a scattered flock, the firstborn of the Most High Yah. If you look in verse 15, you see something powerful. It says, I didn't heard Ephraim crying. I didn't heard, y'all got to hear me. I didn't heard my servants mourning in captivity. And that's a spirit of their mother. Watch this. Thus saith the Most High Yah. In verse 15, a voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rachel weeping for her children, who said, I don't want to be comforted. I don't want nobody to give me no hug. I don't want nobody to tell me it's going to be all right. I don't want nobody to tell me, oh, we're going to get through this. I don't want your comfort. You ain't going to erase what just didn't happen to my seed. She weeping for her kids because they are not. Now, where you didn't heard that before? Let's go to it in the New Testament. In Matthew chapter 2. So now in Matthew chapter 2, we see in verse 16 that when Herod, that wicked Edomite that was trying to kill Mashiach Yahusha, when he saw that he was mocked to the wise men said, we ain't telling your wicked behind nowhere where the Mashiach is. We ain't telling you where Yeshua is. We ain't gonna tell you. The Most High, his angel, done told us that you trying to kill the hope of a people. Oh, Edomite, white European Roman. We're not gonna let you destroy the hope of a people. Now he got real angry, y'all. And he sent forth his soldiers, his centurions, and they slew all the children that were in Bethlehem and all the coast from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he diligently inquired about the wise men. So around the time that Jupiter, that Saturn, that constellation, that star of Bethlehem, that astrological phenomena occurred, that the wise men used to predict where the man-child would be born, he knew that it was a time frame, that time was created for Yahusha. Y'all better hear me. That the ages, the bounds thereof, are set upon Yeshua himself. He is the beginning of one age and the end of another. He is he that was alive and was dead, O Joseph, in the pit, but yet lives and lives forevermore. So we see that he calculated based on time itself where that man-child would have been born at. Thus was fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet Jeremiah, which we just read in Jeremiah 31. That's why line upon line, and I'm talking about the context, every prophecy verified to understand this truth. In Ramah was there a voice heard, lamentation and weeping, and a great mourning. Rachel crying for her children, and she refused to be comforted because her children are dead. Now my question, family, is why is Rachel crying if Judah is the foreparent of Yeshua? Wouldn't it say that Leah was crying? Why is it saying Rachel, the mother of Yosef, the grandmother of Ephraim? Why is it when these Bethlehem babies are being put to death, the grandmother of Ephraim is crying in the spirit? Y'all better talk to me. Bethlehem was given to Ephraim. Y'all got to catch that. Y'all got to see that. And I got lots of scriptures to go through. Now we see that in the book of Ruth. We see Obadiah. But first I want to let's go back to Deuteronomy. Let me go to Deuteronomy 33. And I'm going to have to do a follow-up, but I want to kind of end with this. Because it's just so many precepts, family. In Deuteronomy 33 verse 17, we see Moshe Hanavi give the benediction to the 12 tribes. In verse 17, he says, now this is talking about Joseph. Let me start at the beginning of that blessing. It's so monumental that Jacob corroborates it. Moses corroborates it. But somewhere during the exilic period, Judean scribes say that had been done away with in Judah. Now watch this now. And Yosef he said, and of Yosef he said, blessed is the Most High Yah be his land. May his land be doubly fruitful. Now this gets into a maxim and a lot of legendary stuff. For the precious things of heaven, give him the riches of this earth. For the precious dew of the morning, the first fruit of everything. And for the deep that couches beneath, the underground secret blessings of Yah. And for the precious fruits brought forth by the sun. And for the precious things put forth by the moon. And for the chief things of the ancient mountains. And for the precious things of the everlasting hills. Wait a second. Where have I heard about the everlasting hills? The everlasting hills. Let me just go to something real quick. I gotta show y'all this. In Micah chapter 5 verse 2. But thou, O Bethlehem Ephratah, line upon line, though you be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall come forth unto me he that is to be ruler in Israel, even Yashral, whose going forth has been of old, from everlasting. Oh, we see this everlasting thing linked to Bethlehem, linked to Ephraim. Now, when a lot of y'all see it says thousands of Judah, thousands of the provinces of Judah. It had thousands of different cities and towns. Bethlehem was the least accounted of them, more than not, because it was an Ephraimite town, and I can understand that. But out of that despised region, everywhere Yeshua was, y'all was despised. When you look at Nazareth, they said, can anything come good out of Nazareth? They said, Galilee where the Gentile Hellenized folks is. Even Bethlehem was despised. That's the faithfulness of a father's love. I wanted to get dirty. I wanted to get grimy. I wanted to look so bad, and I want to pull my man-child out of that place. Right? So now let's go back to Deuteronomy. So in Deuteronomy 33 verse 17, let me go back up to verse 13. For the dew and for the deep that coucheth beneath, and for the precious fruits brought forth by the sun, and for the precious things put forth by the moon, and for the chief things of the ancient mountains of old. Y'all hear this now? And for the precious things of the everlasting hills. This is that same Ephraimite language, because this is the blessing of Joseph by Moses himself. And for the precious things of the earth, and fullness thereof, and for the good will of him that dwelt in the bush. Moses says, the God that appeared to me in the bush is the God of Joseph. Let the blessing come upon the head of Yosef. That stuff don't go away, family. That's why David's lineage is powerful, because it reconciles Judah through the kinsman redeemer Boaz, and through Yahusha's mother's line being from Judah. But paternally, David and Yahusha's lineage was actually from Ephraim. So in that messianic lineage, it reconciles all the 12 tribes and establishes the restoration of Joseph, for Joseph lives, even the sons of Zion. Let's keep looking. And let the blessing come upon the head of Joseph, and upon the crown of the head of him that was separated from his brethren. Now this is where you get the Nazirite vow. Now Nasir is that separated word that's used right here in Deuteronomy 33:16. We see this also in Genesis 49 with the blessing of Joseph. When it says he that was separated from his brethren, that's actually Nasir. He that was a prince or consecrated from his brethren. We can imagine that his dreads probably grew when he was in the pit, and that it evolved into a Nazirite covenant where they grew their hair out, and that Nasir, that prince, became a covenant of being set apart unto the Most High Yah. This originated with Joseph being consecrated from his brethren, but for the work of the Most High Yah to preserve his people. His glory is like the firstling of a bullock, of his bullock. And his horns are like the horns of the mighty unicorns. With them he shall push the people together, or gather the people together from the ends of the earth. They are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. So he says, with them he shall push the people together from the ends of the earth. Where have we seen that? Let's go back to the messianic prophecy in Genesis 49. It says that the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh comes. We saw Shiloh was an ancient city within Samaria, who was the capital of Ephraim, and unto this Shiloh, unto him shall be the gathering of the people. Then we read the benediction of Moses that says that this bull, this Josephite, would gather the people together from the ends of the earth. That's the messianic prophecy of Shiloh. That's that shepherd rock that comes from Joseph, right? And we see that in the blessing in Genesis 49, which I don't think I went through. In Genesis 49, it says about Joseph. Let's read it, y'all. I gotta give y'all these precepts. In verse 22, Joseph is a fruitful bow, even a fruitful bow by a well, a fruitful branch, a fruitful offspring. This gets into that vine that I showed y'all in Jeremiah 31, whose branches run over the wall. The archers have sorely grieved him and shot at him. They frustrated him, they pierced his heart, they crushed his spirit, and they hated him. But his bow remained in strength. Y'all got to see the faithfulness of a loving God that wouldn't let that son die, wouldn't let him lose heart. And the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty God, the mighty El Gibor in the Hebrew, the mighty El Gibor of Yaakov. That's what sustained his strength. And from this Joseph lineage that was only sustained in the pit by the Creator himself, from him is the shepherd, gatherer king, the stone of Israel. They got a smiley face right there to let you know the Judean scribes insert the inserts. They know this thing, y'all. They're smiling at you. That stone that the builders rejected. You see how the archers shot at him and hated him? The stone which the builders rejected. Wait, his own brothers got him killed. They took him and gave him a coat of many colors that had blood on it. YESHUA. That's the very perfect, beautiful image of our Messiah himself. YESHUA hid in plain sight through his forefather David, who was the son of Jesse the Ephraimite. Ephraim, the son of Joseph. So Christ is the Messiah ben Joseph. YESHUA or Yahshua, like Joshua the son of Nun, the Ephraimite that came before him. Yahshua ben Yosef. That stuff is deep and it's powerful, and I give all praises to the Most High Yah. Even by the God of your father, he will help you. He gonna sustain you, Joseph. And by the Almighty, he gonna bless you with the blessings of heaven above and with the blessings of the deep that lieth beneath. Now we saw this, Moses quoted this verbatim about the blessings from beneath and the blessings from the dew of heaven. So Moses is just reverberating, confirming where there's 2 or 3 witnesses, the blessing that's on Joseph's life, the messianic hope. And we see this in Ruth when we look at the kinsman redeemer, that even with Boaz being Judah, let's go to chapter Y'all missed the whole conclusion of the story. It was never about Boaz at all. It was about resurrecting a dead man's lineage, even Elimelech. That's why Boaz was just as faithful as Ruth, who was faithful to her mother-in-law and said, I ain't going nowhere. I know that my husband that was your son is gone, but I'm faithful to you and your God. This is why a lot of Moors have respect for the Moabites. I'm telling you, a lot of these historically, the Moors created a whole code to hide this history because they were going to war against the Roman Christian North, right? But Ruth had that kind of faith, but Boaz had the same faith. He said, I'll raise up my brother's seed, because that meant the termination of his lineage. Boaz wouldn't have a name, but as fate would have it, we remember Boaz's lineage to this day. And that's the lineage that we read the generations of Pharez, who begot Hezron and Ram and Amminadab and Nahshon, all the way to David. But the point of the story was not Boaz's lineage, but Elimelech's. So who is Elimelech? The Ephraimite that lived within Bethlehem. Let me go back to that chapter. Chapter 1 is in the first, probably the first verse, or the second verse. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his two sons Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. Ephraimites that lived in the district of Bethlehem within Judah, right? So the beauty of the story of Ruth is the father never forgot about a people. A dead man and his two dead heirs didn't stop the faithfulness of God to use that as a testament of his power to resurrect the name of his people. So y'all, I could go on and on about this. I know y'all could tell it's heavy on my heart, but I hope y'all just come to this stuff with an open mind with this stuff. I might have to split this one up. But there's a lot that goes into Joseph, and there's a reason that we're so afraid of the Yoruba people. I'm gonna have to do more follow-ups on that, because I got all them credible sources, but people saying that I just made that up, right? But it's a reason that the powers that be, and I don't blame all the nations specifically. I blame, it's a spirit assigned, and I'm not gonna say evil or good to the spirit, because we see these are just agents working to perform the Most High's perfect will. It gets deep, y'all. But we know that there is a spirit that has deceived these people to go to war against Ephraim and Joseph. And it has been working so deeply that our own people are caught up in it. That we don't know that to be Ephraim, to be Joseph, is the heartbeat of a loving father. So with that, family, I'm going to do follow-ups. I hope y'all were touched by it. I hope y'all gained something from it. I have a lot more precepts I can go through. It's kind of hard to break down them and do them justice. I know a lot of y'all, I'm just going to tell you, are not going to read this. And it's so important y'all study for yourselves. That's why I try to break this stuff down as best I can. But I love you all with the love of the Messiah, and I really mean that. I let my actions show it. I got to give y'all this truth. So I say peace, love, and blessings and Israelite power to the 12 tribes scattered, even the house of Joseph. I love y'all with the love of the Messiah. Be blessed. Shalom.